When we think of transfusion reactions, we're going to first split them up into febrile and afebrile. And for febrile, we're going to then divide it by time after transfusion. So right away, something that's almost immediate is less than 1 hour, and it's going to be acute hemolytic. If it's like less than 6 hours after transfusion, it's called a febrile non-hemolytic transfusion reaction. And long after, 2 to 10 days after, you're going to have a delayed hemolytic. As far as afebrile, we're going to divide that up into allergic, where angioedema is the main thing in the pathogenesis, and respiratory distress or damage. As far as allergic goes, you have one that's very severe and one that's kind of semi-severe. And so if you divide this up into time and severity, you're always going to get the anaphylactic one is the most rapid. So rapid, severe is going to be anaphylactic. Within 2 to 3 hours, however, of the transfusion and just some flushing, maybe angioedema and pruritus, you're going to have urticaria. So both of these, anaphylactic and urticaria or allergy, have angioedema, but anaphylactic is much more rapid in its onset. And that's because it's caused by the recipient blood having anti-IgA antibodies. The urticarial reaction, that is later and less severe, is caused by there being IgE antibodies in the recipient's blood. And as far as the respiratory distress and damage in an afebrile transfusion reaction, it's going to be something called a transfusion-related acute lung injury. And this happens within 6 hours of the transfusion. And it's caused by donor anti-leukocyte antibodies. as far as the difference between these three, the febrile transfusion reactions, the way I remember it is the two hemolytic ones, the acute hemolytic and delayed hemolytic, are like the extremes. So acute is like the first thing you see. If you think of a febrile transfusion reaction and something that happens almost right away in a matter of minutes, you're going to think acute hemolytic. And that's basically ABO and incompatibility. So that's like a very common cause is ABO incompatibility. On the other side of the spectrum is something that takes days to happen. And it's like if something takes days to happen, you've almost forgotten that you even had the transfusion, and that's actually what it is. It's caused by an amnestic antibody response. So you're having some hemolysis, but since it takes longer for those cells to develop that response, it takes 2 to 10 days. And of course, the febrile non-hemolytic reaction is actually the most common one out of all of these. And what happens is when the blood product is sitting for a long time, it's going to develop like cytokines in it. So cytokines. Now, the way I remember this one is like it's febrile non-hemolytic. The name of it is febrile non-hemolytic, even though these other two are febrile. But febrile, it looks like file, and when the blood is filed away, it develops these cytokines. That's kind of not a very great way of remembering it, but if it helps you, then that's great. So you've reached the end of my lecture. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.